Okay, I'm gonna introduce again for a second. So all right. All right, hello everyone. We do apologize for that. We did start the stream earlier about 3 minutes ago, but we ended up doing it in the wrong place. So we brought it back, and now we're here to showcase you one of the first few matches of the Round 64 bracket as we fervor into it. So going to be none other than FoaMelt1 going up against senkhyu here, seed 10 versus seed 55. Both these players have been proving their worth in the qualifiers and are ready to juke it out here in the Round 64 bracket to be able to prove who's going to be going into where exactly both these players are going to be going for the round of 32 bracket. But before that, of course, I'm your host, EpicMan2, and joining alongside me is going to be Nightcore. What is rocking?
After that, it feels weird doing an intro again, but after the non-recording, but I'm doing great, and as well, a good match to start off our Round of 64 weekend, despite the Friday matches. FoaMelt, senkhyu, pretty prominent names when those come to the tournament scene. FoaMelt, I do believe, on the Chinese MWC team right now, as they do triumph their way into finals. They believe they have a match either today or tomorrow. You know, senkhyu as well, I do believe getting podium in the Mania French tournament for this year as well. So, names pretty familiar alongside each other, but seeding strengths and weaknesses definitely do show a bit. Now, as we are looking in the chat with the Protect ban phase, FoaMelt going for the Coordination Protect, which, kind of looking at the stat sheet, senkhyu definitely does show that weakness on the side of Coordination, only getting 94th on Coordination 1 and 73rd on Coordination 2, so definitely a bit more of a physical player compared to for having those release aspects. So I think FoaMelt will capitalize off that. You know, I think senkhyu will try play for the Dead Sleep wildcard, maybe to try catch FoaMelt out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think Coordination Free Phony is honestly a good protect. I feel like out of all the Coordination picks that this map has to offer, it's definitely one of the more arguably safer maps, just because the likes of Painted Dreams and Reimei are both like relatively old style coordination maps in general, so not many players like currently would be as comfortable or familiar with them as I would assume with Phony, because that one feels a lot more modern in terms of the grand scheme of things when it comes to Mania and especially tournaments in general. So definitely makes a little more sense to protect that, and it seems like senkhyu's protecting the Earth, so now going to be moving on to the bans. It seems like Wildcard 2 is going to get the ban, so that is... And then Wildcard 3 is also going to get banned, so that is 2 wildcards, leaving only Alexir's precious wildcard open for grabs. Oh, okay, yeah. And it turns out that the first pick from FoaMelt isn't actually going to be on the Protect, so going to be starting off in Contrarian with Coordination 1, Painted Dreams. This one, relatively interesting for a first pick, especially, I think, for this one, like, specifically, it kind of just makes me wonder, like, what was the point of protecting Phony when going into the coordination factor? But that probably does make a bit of sense as well. Probably saving that for a bit later, starting off with some of the maps that are going to try and catch out senkhyu out first, because that's definitely the one thing that I feel FoaMelt would at least want to try out going into the match, especially starting off with relatively safe maps as well.
Yeah, I can totally see FoaMelt going to Coordination 1, maybe just to test the waters. This is definitely more the lighter pick, so I would say more the easier coordination. Definitely is a bit more lighter on the physicals, so accuracy does have to keep intact a lot. Actually, this was an older map, of course, as you see by stage 3, was a qualifier from former. So FoaMelt actually dropping a few 200s near the starting releases as well. Score is juking it back over, but again, I think this early, it's too difficult to tell, because again, the final quarter, you still have some of those unique snaps, so we'll have to see how both these players do. But anyways, as I was saying, this was buffed from OD6 to OD8, so gonna be a bit trickier on the accuracy side. Tied scores now as both players are still duking it out pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the one thing that this map does to be able to throw a lot of the players off is having some of these really tight releases during the courses, and especially the fact that even at this tempo, incorporating 1/6 release timings is definitely something that I feel would throw a lot of players off in when it comes to some of these easier LN maps in specific. But even then, both these players are doing a really good job being able to combo a lot of these parents. Senkhyu gonna have like the lower end of the stick, but only just from a few misjudgments. Some of these early releases mayhaps, and FoaMelt still getting the better end of the stick. It's really just down to some of these misjudgments, which is really just what you want to avoid. But FoaMelt's doing a really good job at being able to maintain consistency with a lot of these parents, so props to them. And there's still the final quarter of the map left to go, the final 6 of the cake slice to consume on the plate.
Yeah, but I think senkhyu did kind of have a bit of I think senkhyu did get the shorter end of the slice, as it are kind of starting to release a small bit early with those more unique snappings. FoaMelt definitely a lot more consistent and caught their breath back up a small bit after getting a bit rushed near the early start, giving FoaMelt the first point in the map on their picks. So again, pretty safe pick, and it did pay off for them.
Yeah, I feel like this is definitely a strong map for FoaMelt to start the match off with, especially getting that tremendous 996 score, and honestly, the ratio itself is really good, even beside the 2 grades that had been accumulated along the way. I feel like the thing is, if senkhyu had gone like less grades, then this map could have been a lot more riskier, as we have seen during the first half of the map precisely. But that said, with the first point going to FoaMelt, preventing that breakpoint, it's now time for senkhyu to try and capitalize off of one of the next maps here.
Now, judging by the fact they did protect technical 2, maybe they could go for another kind of polyrhythm-esque pick. Of course, they can jump into Tech 2, but there are some other polyrhythmatic maps. I do believe. I'm actually not sure. Maybe they could jump into some of the other Tech picks as well. Again, I think anything's on the board, and it's going to be Tech 1 Cat Chase. So for any of my Suzume fans out there, you should watch it, by the way. It's actually really good. I'm not too surprised that senkhyu will be jumping into this. Of course, being the easier technical pick. The only question I slightly raise is, it is pretty coordination heavy as well when it does come to tech. But we'll have to see how this goes. Again, I have no doubts that senkhyu can be able to capitalize off this pick a small bit, but after that late start with some of those early 200s, not really seeming the best for them early on, especially when you're playing an early game. 200s could just be the absolute end of you.
Yeah. I think that's just the thing with early game maps overall, though. Just the fact that you have the luxury of being able to at least afford some mistakes, but even then, mistakes mean a lot more when there's a lot less notes in comparison to harder charts, especially. And with this map being no exception, it does introduce some of these more unorthodox patterns, so to say, and it's also relatively short as well. This one being a map by Anafrax, who has made a bunch of these types of maps where it is very technical in terms of how it expresses like some of these things, and especially within like jazz music in a sense, it really just adds to the poison that both these players are going to be consuming. But FoaMelt does have the better end of the stick, and that's going to be a pretty bad situation for senkhyu if this does not go in their way.
Yeah, this map is still holding onto that very flowy area. Both players still kind of smooth sailing through the flow, but when we do get to the ending, things might be subject to change. Of course, only a 3,000 point difference. If FoaMelt does kind of find a actual miss, then it can still go over towards the side of senkhyu. But for now, FoaMelt just being the alpha, the leader of the pack right now at 99.8. senkhyu trying to catch up, but we still have the ending. We do have that bit of a density spike, which senkhyu might be able to capitalize off. Maybe relying on FoaMelt maybe to find a few falters.
Yeah, and I think even then, but with how FoaMelt has been doing really well, they are still not immune to any of these misjudgments anywhere, even while they are relatively minuscule, in that it just relies on a lot of these yellow 300s to be able to at least make a difference. But even then, while senkhyu has done their best to try and chase that score of FoaMelt here, this is going to be the end. You just have the final solo of the chart, and then that's going to be a 996k from FoaMelt going into this map, and a V1SS at that as well. Holy damn. Okay.
Very impressive scores from both people. You can definitely see now why they deserve the seat they were in. Very impressive score from senkhyu as well with that A200. 99.65. Also near that 990k. But FoaMelt with that 996.4 V1SS as well. Very impressive performances from both players. And I think FoaMelt going straight into their protect now, having that bit of confidence boost after the breakpoint they just snagged. Now, this is a map I can definitely see FoaMelt capitalizing on a lot more. See, compared to Coronation 1, this map is significantly longer. I think the longest map outside the tiebreaker at 3 minutes and 6 seconds. Could be kind of more of our modern style. Could be kind of more of your modern style coordination release as well.
Yeah, like this map does carry on some similar concept that would have been seen with Raymay as a char, but obviously with the likes of it being a lot more modern and contrarian to some of the other coordination maps. This is essentially one of the other few coordination maps that we have that are at least modern, because this map pool in general has like a pretty fair balance between some of these older-esque maps to especially in ratio to some of the more modernized types of maps. So that definitely is something there that can throw a lot of people off, as they definitely kind of feel as if they are their own skill set in a way. Just the fact that a lot of these older maps just feel a lot more specific in terms of what patterns they have to offer. So this map going to shift the tides a bit and kind of carrying on what we have seen from the technical map. And so far, it seems like FoaMelt has the advantage, just going off of some minor misjudgments that senkhyu has accumulated.
Alright, heading into the Kia, you might see some accuracy changes. Of course, score isn't really too different, only around 3,000 points, but that consistency on FoaMelt, senkhyu finding that drop as well, which is only going to be giving FoaMelt that heavy advantage. senkhyu slipping on that banana peel, unfortunately. Still can catch up, but with accuracy lead like that, heading out the first Ki is not really somewhere you want to miss. But maybe this density section with some of those shields might catch someone out.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, this map does have a lot of these resources that can allow for various players to find some chokes, especially with the fact that the map in general just has a lot of these really specific patterns that are designated in various instances with the map itself, especially the fact that this is a map from the likes of Mysterion. And I know that they are versatile as a mapper, especially in the LN field, so definitely goes to show that this map kind of the closest to a bit of a coordination wildcard, but FoaMelt is still basically finding majority of the best of it, especially getting the best out of the flavor that it has to offer. senkhyu trying their best going into the final quarter to be able to try and fight back the score lead, but still, honestly, look to be an uphill battle for them, especially with that good right there that is going to continue detrimenting the score by bits, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Both players still holding on to fairly similar accuracy as we've seen for the halfway point. senkhyu actually, instead getting a small bit of accuracy drops. But now, as we get to the end, we're going to see a lot more of some of those 1-6 snaps, which can throw off some of the players, but this map is still mentally enduring, being 3 minutes and 6 seconds long, and then you're seeing more of those mini density bursts. But as around the 64 match goes, it can only be something that can be a minor hindrance to these players at this point, both putting on very strong performances, and FoaMelt with that 997.5, very impressive performance on the coordination, and definitely the reason why they wanted to protect it as well.
Okay, FoaMelt, I don't know how you even get the score, but that is honestly kind of a disrespectful flex to senkhyu, but that is going to be the third point in FoaMelt's mailbox. Oh my god, I'm losing words. Help. My English is not Englishing for some reason, but that is going to be But now it's Senkyu's turn to pick once again. So now being down by essentially half the match, Senkyu is going to have to at least fight to at least prevent match point for FoaMelt, in which there's only really a few options that I would say Senkyu has. The tech maps didn't work, and also the coordination maps haven't really worked out either. Even with the tech to protect, I feel that it's going to be a little risky up against the likes of FoaMelt, who is at least capable of coordinating a lot of these LNs really well. So I have a feeling that maybe it would be best to maybe opt in for maybe something like Wildcard 1, but at the same time, I don't know how that one would work, really.
Okay, tech free. So they're gonna be avoiding their protect. So this has to be a very important pick for Senku, as if they do lose this, then FoaMelt does have that FoaMelt has that match point. But looking at this now, I mean, hey, it's pretty much an extreme demon.
Bruh. Except it literally just got kicked out the top 50 list, so I don't know. Is it really that difficult?
Yeah. It is extreme demon, pretty much. So, hey, well, you're pretty much playing a no-clip accuracy at this point, because if you don't get 100%, then, well, okay. You have to be playing the no-clip accuracy, okay. So tech-free. This is going to be more of your kind of stop-and-go burst-oriented map. So, yeah, to see those mini density bursts, a lot more of those shorter LNs as well. It is moderately long, I would say. So I think Senku against FoaMelt definitely wouldn't want to find a miss anyways, just because of FoaMelt's consistency. But with this map, early half, definitely a bit more, I would say, kind of focuses on a lot of those short LNs, some of those shields and broken jump stream with these streams. But there's a lot in this map you also have to focus on. Of course, there's a coordination area in the middle. But as you do get into more of those shields, both players still holding on very well after the first quarter. FoaMelt taking a slight accuracy drop, so maybe this could be Senku's time to shine some of those signs of life. But anything can still happen. Again, it is a pretty awkward map. But as we do get into the break, we do get that mini coordination area.
Yeah, the map had quite a bunch to offer on its sleeve, more or less. Both these players doing really well to be able to act through a majority of the map thus far, especially with a lot of these really unorthodox pairings that it has offered that are relatively stream burst oriented as well. 1-6 snaps, the predominant game of this chart here, but despite it all, FoaMelt going to be still eking out some advantage out of that, just recovering their accuracy to nearly 99.90%. As we can see, Senkhyu had taken some misjudgments earlier. It was really neck and neck earlier in the map, especially going into the first course. But I have a feeling that it's probably going to be unlikely for FoaMelt to be able to find some sort of choke on any of these parents, because they have been so rock hard solid when it came to consistency in this match alone.
Heading into the final quarter, now we're playing Acheron. But now the streams, they are getting a lot more continuous. You're seeing kind of a lot more of those kind of broken density jump stream with some of those staggered releases, but some on the same as well. But as we do get to the outro, both players still getting that full combo at this point, but we still have the final stream. Something can still happen. Again, the score difference is only by 4,000. If FoaMelt still finds a drop, this could go back over towards Senku. But with the final stream closing out, it looks like both players are still holding on very well. And with the outro, looks like FoaMelt is going to do it again. 996.4, Senku 991.4. Very impressive scores from both players. 4-2-1 on the side of Senku, V1SS on the side of FoaMelt. Absolute impressive performance from both these players.
The fact that none of these players have even missed once going into the whole match, and we're already at a match point situation. All it takes is just one pick from FoaMelt to be able to just conclude the match as is. And honestly, it's looking pretty dire for Senkhyu. A lot of these options have not really worked out, and especially with like points where it was really close between both these players having at least really tight advantages before at least having some of these misjudgments come out as well. I feel a lot of these maps could have definitely gone in the favor of senkhyu had it not been FoaMelt's consistency, but now it is time for... But now I think FoaMelt is picking into senkhyu's Protect. What are you doing?
I think, honestly, I think it was either Tech 2 or Wildcard 1 would have probably been FoaMelt's better picks, because senkhyu does strive off that density area. So I would totally see why FoaMelt would jump into something like this. Also, he does like the song, which I don't like the song. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be listening to the song. It's.
I mean, I don't know. Not everyone's gonna be into polyrhythms. I guess I'm into polyrhythms, but that's just because I paid attention in class or something. So I don't know. So.
All right, this map and song is very interesting. So about this map, it actually was created in 2022, but we have updated it to 2025. I'm speaking this from Imperial's words. So there's a 5/4 time signature, so pretty much. And you transition from inverse coordination.
Yeah, a lot of these patterns going to be relatively unorthodox in how they are structured because of the fact that, especially to complement the song itself, it really is complicated in terms of like when you look at it, when you basically look at it, but then when you look further into it, you just realize that it's not what it seems. Like, can you like tell off the head that this is 128 BPM? Because even if I do understand like music theory and all that, I just don't understand how this feels like it's 128 BPM, even when counting right, you know?
Yeah, it's very confusing to keep your time on, and especially if you're going for a sight read on this map, you will definitely fumble. senkhyu taking that nasty drop down to that 99.3 on one of those mini coordination sections. It was a pretty horrible early release from them, and especially how short this map is, heading into the final area where will be like, this is pretty simple on the snapping. It's just following the rhythm. But as you do get to the ending, you're going to be seeing a lot more of those column-heavy areas as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, the map still has a lot to offer on his platter for the fact that this is going into the final chord. This is where things ramp up going into this course or so. You still have a lot of these shield patterns, a lot of these flow-oriented, jack-oriented element patterns as well, just in the midst of things. But even then, with that one miss from senkhyu, that has basically done it. The damage has already been done. The confidence on the side of senkhyu is already gone in an instant as we go into the ending. And that is ultimately going to be the one that concludes the match. So FoaMelt going to be capitalizing off of senkhyu's Protect and making it 5-0 in their favor. 997k to really put the victor to the spoils. And now, unfortunately for senkhyu, being sent down into the losers bracket for the round of 32 bracket, FoaMelt is going to be advancing further into the winners bracket to face whoever wins next in this round, as there's still quite a bunch of matches left to go through.
Really well done to both these players. Again, FoaMelt and senkhyu. Like, FoaMelt's putting in some really strong 990 plus scores. senkhyu as well, putting up really good fights, but it was just some of those misses and some of those 200s in some of those areas that did unfortunately cost them a few break points. But hey, seed 55 against seed 10, very good performance against them, and they will definitely have a pretty nice time in the losers bracket when it does come to it. So it's not over yet. You put up a good fight, and well, we just say, I don't know. We could just say that hopefully your time in losers bracket will go very smooth. Now for now for FoaMelt as well, they'll be advancing their way to the round of 32 winners. So I'm not too sure on who they will be facing yet. So there is the bracket. So might as well check that out. So
yeah.
Next we do have Unitori versus Young Kong. So gonna be a very close match. Gonna be a pretty close match, I do believe. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, to be fair, I think we have said. I think I've pretty much said all that I wanted to say, really. And FoaMelt going to be facing between Mini Egg and also Leiakim in the round of 32 bracket. I assume senkhyu is also going to be facing someone that is going to be losing that match as well. So, as we all know from the beginner matches. This is usually how the format goes, but of course we still have so many matches to go through in the weekend. Unitori vs Younghan gonna be the next one in line to be showcased. Honestly, I can't wait to commentate this one. This feels like it's gonna be really interesting to watch, honestly, knowing both these players. So we hope you stay tuned for that, but I think it's safe to say that we can practically call it here now for the time being.
Yeah, so I guess we just set out to take a break for an hour and a half. So do you have anything you'd like to say before we go?
Chicken burger.
As is. So again, thank you for watching, everyone. Very good match against both these players. And just like that, we'll see you later.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Peace out.